Subscribe my channel for more real stories. Now, let's begin this one. Dazzling symphony of light and sound. Crystal chandeliers, the clink of champagne flutes, the swell of laughter. It was all for him. Arthur Pendleton, 62, the embodiment of quiet success, stood bathed in the applause. 40 years of corporate climbing culminating in this perfect, shimmering moment. His retirement party. The golden handshake. Everything he'd ever imagined. Except for the silence at his family's table. A heavy, unsettling stillness amidst the celebration. It was then Arthur knew. The predator's stillness before the strike. "To Arthur," booms Mark Jenkins, Arthur's longtime associate, raising his glass. "A titan whose quiet strength built our mergers and acquisitions department from the ground up. We wouldn't be the industry giant we are today without his meticulous eye and unwavering dedication." More thunderous applause. Arthur's practiced smile remained fixed, but his gaze drifted to his wife Elizabeth, 60, elegant in sapphire. Her beauty as sharp and cold as cut glass. For weeks, she'd been an unnatural perfection. Foot rubs, favorite meals, feverish discussions of their golden years. Their son Joshua, usually a phantom, had called for advice. Their daughter Chloe, too busy for family, had brought flowers. The performance was flawless. The dread, however, was real. When the speeches conclude, Arthur, a tremor he alone felt running through him, moved to their table. Elizabeth rose, her smile blinding, too bright. "My wonderful husband," she purred, taking his arm. Her touch, once comforting, now felt like a viper's coil. "We have one last surprise for you, a little retirement gift." Joshua, phone subtly raised, a glint of cruel anticipation in his eyes, began recording. Chloe, her usual bubbly charm replaced by a chillingly composed smirk, leaned forward. Arthur watched as Elizabeth's manicured fingers delved into her designer handbag. She produced a sleek leather folder, not a gift, a weapon. She slid it across the polished mahogany. "What's this, darling?" Arthur's voice, remarkably steady, masked the earthquake erupting within him. He already knew. The premonition had been a whisper. Now it was a scream. "Open it, Dad," Chloe urged, her voice a razor's edge of excitement. Arthur's fingers, steady despite the internal chaos, found the clasp. He opened the folder. Divorce papers. Property division. His pension, his savings, his legacy, all designated for transfer. Every line a declaration of war, every clause a calculated robbery. "We thought we'd make this as clean as possible. Sign and you're free, unburdened. Your new life can begin." "Yeah, unburdened by any of your assets," Joshua added, a vulgar triumph in his tone. "We've got it all sorted. Perfectly legal." Chloe's eyes glittered with predatory glee. "Congrats on 40 years of being our personal ATM, old man. We'll send a postcard from your money." Arthur stared at the documents. His face betrayed nothing. The beast within, long dormant beneath layers of corporate polish, stirred. For 40 years, he had built a fortress, not just of wealth, but of secrets. The unassuming executive by day, the architect of a shadow empire by night, shell corporations, encrypted offshore accounts, influence woven into the very fabric of global finance. They saw a quiet, predictable banker. They didn't see the strategist. He slowly withdrew his solid gold Montblanc pen, a gift from Elizabeth on their 30th anniversary, a twisted irony. He uncapped it with deliberate, agonizing precision. One by one, he signed each document. His signature, an elegant flourish, seemed almost a final act of contemptuous generosity. "Understood," he said, his voice flat, emotionless. He slipped the pen back into his breast pocket. His family exchanged triumphant glances, already celebrating. Elizabeth was scrolling through luxury travel brochures on her phone. Arthur rose. "I'll clear out my desk. I'll be gone by morning." "That would be for the best," chirped Elizabeth, dialing a number. "Don't forget your toothbrush."
Three days later, rain lashed against the black glass of a sleek executive car. Inside, Elizabeth's phone shrieked incessantly. The bank, again. Arthur had not merely left, he had evaporated. From their home, from the bank systems, from every digital footprint. Their joint accounts scoured clean. The retirement party was the last anyone had seen of Arthur Pendleton. Joshua's phone buzzed next. His lawyer's voice, a terrified squeal. "It's happening earlier than we planned," the lawyer screamed. "The investment accounts, they're gone, all of them, just gone." Arthur had prepared for this for 2 decades. The first chilling signs had emerged after Elizabeth's uncle, a man of vast wealth, suddenly died. Her thinly veiled questions about his estate, her casual probes into Arthur's own finances, they were not grief but greed, a calculated dissection of his worth. Instead of confrontation, Arthur had begun to build, a silent, intricate exit strategy, unseen and unknown. A Spartan, high-tech apartment overlooking the city, one of 9 such safe houses, each held by a different, untraceable trust. Arthur, no longer the impeccable executive, but a man sharpened to a point, sat before 3 glowing monitors. He initiated Operation Phoenix. He watched the frantic, chaotic unraveling. Elizabeth tried to access their joint investment accounts. $0.00 flashed back. Joshua frantically called Arthur's former colleagues, only to discover his father's personnel file, his very existence at Sterling Dynamics, had been scrubbed. Chloe's legal network, usually so effective, hit sophisticated digital roadblocks at every turn. "He can't just vanishes," Elizabeth shrieked at Joshua, pacing their now hollow mansion. "Your boring banker father drained 30 different offshore accounts in 24 hours. $200 million, untraceable cash. He's a ghost, all right, the kind that empties your bank." His face was ashen, sweat slicking his brow. Elizabeth's phone chimed, her eyes wide with disbelief, fixated on the screen. "What is it?" Joshua demanded. "The Financial Conduct Authority. I've been flagged for a full-scale audit. Someone submitted evidence of irregularities in my charitable foundation accounts." Her charity, her golden goose. Across town, Arthur allowed himself a thin, almost imperceptible smile. He pressed send on another anonymously routed email. This one to Chloe's alma mater, detailing blatant plagiarism in her graduate thesis. Chloe had always believed rules were for others. Arthur had meticulously documented every cut corner. For Joshua, Arthur had crafted something particularly cruel. The most transparently greedy of his children deserved a bespoke destruction. Arthur accessed a secure server and uploaded damning documents to the National Fraud Office. Evidence that Joshua had systematically bleeded his own startup, a venture Arthur had personally funded, to feed a voracious gambling addiction. Within 48 hours, Joshua's startup was under federal investigation, his assets frozen. Chloe was stripped of her degree. Her budding legal career was a smoldering ruin. Elizabeth's charitable foundation was dissolved, her reputation as a philanthropist publicly annihilated. And then came the final blow. The family mansion, supposedly paid off for years, carried a secret 3rd mortgage she knew nothing about, 3 months overdue. The family huddled in their rapidly chilling mansion, now less a home than a tomb. Scores of frantic calls, authorities, creditors, professional associations. Chaos reigned. "This is Dad," Chloe shrieked, pacing, her voice raw. "He's been planning this for years." "That's absurd," Elizabeth scoffed, clutching an empty champagne glass. "Arthur doesn't have the mind for this. He's a creature of habit." Then explain how everything is falling apart simultaneously, Joshua roared, his face a mask of primal fear. Their argument was brutally interrupted by the chime of the doorbell. A courier, impassive, held a pristine white envelope addressed simply, "The Pendleton Family." Inside, a single sheet of paper. Arthur's elegant, precise script. Chess has always been about anticipating your opponent's moves. You've been playing checkers your entire lives. The game has just begun. Beneath the note, a single photograph. Elizabeth in a passionate embrace with Mark Jenkins, dated 20 years earlier. The night of Arthur and Elizabeth's 30th anniversary party. The night she gave him the gold Mont Blanc pen.
1 month later. On the 1-month anniversary of his retirement party, Arthur orchestrated his final act. He arranged for his family to receive invitations to a settlement negotiation at a prestigious downtown hotel. When Elizabeth, Joshua, and Chloe arrived, they were met not by lawyers, but by a ravenous pack of reporters from every major news outlet and a phalanx of investigators from multiple agencies. Arthur had anonymously tipped the press about a colossal financial corruption scandal involving Portland. Cameras flashed like lightning. The three Pendletons, caught in the blinding glare, realized too late they'd walked into a meticulously set trap. They tried to flee, but hotel security, privately hired by Arthur, blocked every exit. A projector roared to life in the conference room. Documented evidence of their collective crimes blazed onto the wall. Financial records, damning recorded conversations, time-stamped photographs, a comprehensive, irrefutable tapestry of a family's betrayal. Arthur never appeared in person. His presence, however, was undeniable. A final video message played for both his shattered family and the assembled press. Arthur's calm, recorded voice filled the room, resonating with a chilling finality. At my retirement dinner, my wife and children handed me divorce papers. "Your pension is ours. You get nothing." My daughter laughed. "Congrats on 40 years of being our personal ATM, old man." I nodded, took out my pen, and signed everything. "Understood," I said. I cleared my office and disappeared. 3 days later, they received frantic calls because it happened earlier than they planned. The video continued, cold and precise. They planned to take everything I'd worked for, my life's blood. What they didn't realize was that I had been prepared for their betrayal for 20 years. I signed those papers knowing it was the last time I would ever give them anything. My last gift. The golden handshake, indeed.
6 months later, Bali, a private beach, the air warm and fragrant. Arthur, now tanned and truly unburdened, sipped a cold drink, scrolling through news from London on his tablet. Elizabeth had been indicted on multiple charges of financial fraud. Joshua had accepted a plea deal, 5 years in a federal prison. Chloe, disbarred and unemployable, was working as a hostess in a roadside diner, a shadow of her former self. Mark Jenkins, after recovering from his suicide attempt, had become the star witness against them all, in exchange for a significantly reduced sentence. Arthur's secure phone, known to only a handful, chimed. It was Samuel. "They're finally facing sentencing next week," Samuel informed him, his voice grim. "Are you coming back for it?" Arthur watched the sun bleed into the ocean, painting the horizon in hues of fire and gold. "No," he replied, his voice a calm sigh. "I've given them enough of my life already." "Any regrets?" Samuel asked. Arthur considered the question, the vast, indifferent ocean stretching before him. "Only that I waited so long to see them for who they truly were, and to show them who I truly was." As he ended the call, he deleted the last monitoring program tracking his former family. Their lives, meticulously dismantled, just as they had planned to dismantle his. The game was over. Checkmate. He turned off his phone, the digital world vanishing, and walked along the shoreline. The gentle waves, rising with the tide, erased his footprints in the wet sand, leaving no trace behind. Free. Hit the subscribe button for more. We will be waiting for you in the next video.